All right, here we are at part 6. Shoot. What I've just decided is that this is such a huge topic that I'm going to make other videos for sure where I get into a lot of nitty-gritty about what it's like for me and what I know it's like for several, the many adults I know who have it. I'll explain also why I think it is that I do know so many who have it. I think it's kind of an interesting phenomenon in itself that can be explained. But yeah, there's just too much. There's too much to get into. So here's the thing. I'm gonna in this first series, I'm going to just try and mainly address the resistances, because what I find it to be the case is I feel like this is the first order of business, because there is such a ferocious, persistent, speaking using these adjectives, pervasive resistance to even starting to listen about any of the facts about this disorder. Such an enormous resistance that I feel like I really should try and address some of the understandable objections people have and the worries that people, the very real and understandable worries people have about even considering if this could be something that's real. And that it's just such a huge topic in itself. Oh my God. But I'll just try and, I'll try in this already lengthy series to address some of that and explain some of it to the best of my abilities. So where I left off was one that, again, that it's what makes ADHD a disorder is not the nature of the individual symptoms. The individual symptoms are boring as hell, okay? When you compare it to other mental disorders, for example, to take bipolar disorder, that's one that is, when you see the disorder in the disorder, it's as the presenting psychiatrist said in that workshop I keep, that I'm thinking about right now since it was so recent, and it was so, it was the first time I was in a room with a bunch of people a bunch of clinicians who actually either knew a great deal about ADHD or wanted to know a great deal about ADHD. I could sidebar, can't even tell you what that did for my morale. I mean, yeah, sorry, irrelevant. Irrelevant. Hard to screen out the irrelevant when you don't have executive functioning working as it should in your brain. You just get sidetracked all the goddamn time, and it's really awful. And other people too. Sorry. Oh God. Okay. So, with bipolar, as one of my friends who has bipolar disorder said, it was quite evocative how she said it. She's like, having, when you have a manic phase, she said, when you have mania, it's kind of like you take this giant diarrhea, you have this fit of diarrhea that just covers your entire life for a short period of time. It's like it's this episode where that part of the illness like pops above ground where everyone can see it and appreciate it, and boy can they see it when mania is happening. It wrecks a lot of things for that person in a very relatively short period of time. They might empty their entire bank account. They might really endanger themselves or others physically on the highway, or just all kinds of things. All kinds of really dramatically bad things can happen very quickly. So that's a disorder that's taken seriously, right? Because it is serious. It's very clear. It's very obvious behaviorally that could be life-threatening if it's not looked after. ADHD is a completely other kind of disorder. And I'll do a series on this, on like why ADHD, another reason I think it's so hard for people to grasp, even if they do have some access to the information. And most people don't unless they're independently digging around for it and in the right places and legitimate sources is what they're seeking out. I say it's a death by paper cuts disorder. It's about failing just a little bit all the time, every day of your life, every week of that life, every month of that life, every year of that life. So the kind of damage that ADHD causes, if you were to look at it in the long view, if you were to look at most ADHD people's lives who have never had their symptoms, they've had no help, no treatment, and they've not affected any interventions, behavioral modification things for themselves so that they can function better, they can perform better. It's a performance disorder. I'll get to that too. What does that mean? That's a very, very key thing to understand about it. The damage is horrific. The stats, the information is, the data is in, and it has been in for some time, and it's very respectable data scientifically. That if you have ADHD that's untreated, you are not medicated, and you are not using a bunch of techniques on a daily basis to manage your symptoms, you are at 8 times the likelihood of dying in a car crash that you're quite likely to have caused. The downstream health effects of mismanagement of your diet and your physical health, and like not looking after all kinds of things properly, is just terrible. Your earnings compared to your peers socioeconomically and educationally and so on, people with whom you have everything else in common except they don't have ADHD and you do, you are probably earning a vast amount of money less than they are. And it's not because you're not as smart as they are, or that you didn't have the same advantages they did, or the same education or training that they did, or the same desire to have the things that they have. Your problem is that your executive functioning system is out of whack a good deal of the time. And it is causing you chronic difficulties in, and this is, as Barkley defines it, it's great. I think it's a terrific working definition of what the effects of untreated, if it's treated, then you can have a pretty good quality of life, probably, if other things in that life support that happening. But the effect, in a nutshell, the effects of unmanaged ADHD are that you have a person who is neurologically incapable of self-organizing, of organizing their behavior, little behaviors on an hourly basis up to the trends and behaviors across a lifetime, of organizing themselves towards achieving their long-term welfare. That is what is significantly impaired on the neurological level, with chronic and pervasive and devastating effects on the ground in that person's life if their symptoms are unmanaged. That's what it does. So it's a disorder, and as Barkley boldly says, and he has plenty of data, he's got books and books of it, obtained in a very rigorous manner scientifically, to demonstrate that, he said, this is the most serious and the most impairing outpatient, very important to caveat, mental disorder that exists, that we know of, that has been in any way defined within the mental health field. And you say, well, how is that? Well, it can be demonstrated because you can see the effects, and you can see the patterned way that the effects were achieved. There are a lot of patterns, and they are discernible, and it's not controversial. It's not. Sorry. I just got into this whole rant. Sorry, you guys. Sorry. Okay, that I was supposed to be addressing. There we go. Executive functioning. Again, I'll explain a little more about it, but I'm actually demonstrating a lot of what that is in these videos, and a lot of my other videos too. What is executive functioning? And what's wrong with people with ADHD? What's going wrong? Put it better, with people who have ADHD and that's not managed. All right, or not managed, to a good degree.